Have you ever caught yourself postponing an important task, thinking, I'll start tomorrow? Or maybe you felt paralyzed by a massive project, unsure of where to begin? Procrastination is a habit disguised as a solution. It appears as a false alternative to avoid the discomfort of tough tasks or the fear of failure. But in reality, it keeps us stuck, delaying our growth, and often even harming our emotional well-being. What if I told you that procrastination can be beaten, and that you have the power to break this cycle right now? Yes, you do. Sounds too simple to be true, right? I thought so too. But along my own journey, I realized the secret isn't about fighting procrastination head-on, it's about understanding the reasons behind it and, from there, changing the way we view time, productivity, and even ourselves. I'm going to show you a practical and real path to stop putting things off and start making it happen. However, here's the uncomfortable truth: it's not about finding motivation, as so many people suggest. Motivation comes from action, not the other way around. If you're waiting to feel inspired or motivated to start, you're putting an artificial barrier between you and the results you want to achieve. But don't worry, everything will make sense as I explain how small daily steps can turn this procrastination marathon into a race of achievement and continuous learning. In this video, we'll break myths, adjust your mindset, and create practical strategies that you can apply right now to take the first step and keep moving forward. Let's dive in. Procrastination is something we all face at one point or another. We all have that tendency to put things off, even though we know that the task is important. The reason for this is psychological. It's rooted in our instinct to avoid discomfort. When we think about a task that feels overwhelming or boring, our brain naturally resists it, seeking a quicker, more pleasurable reward. We often choose short-term pleasure over long-term gain, like watching a show on Netflix instead of tackling a work assignment. But procrastination doesn't just delay our progress, it piles up stress and anxiety. When we don't address the task at hand, it looms over us like a weight that only grows heavier the longer we avoid it. The key to understanding procrastination lies in our brain's avoidance mechanism. It's easy to think we're lazy or undisciplined, but procrastination is often a coping mechanism to avoid discomfort. To break this cycle, you need to recognize that procrastination isn't a flaw, but a learned habit. The moment we accept this, we're free to tackle it head-on. Instead of resisting the task, we need to learn to handle the discomfort and face it as an opportunity for growth. It's about retraining our response to that initial feeling of reluctance. A great way to do that is to break tasks down into smaller, more manageable pieces, so you don't feel so overwhelmed by them. When we look at procrastination from a psychological perspective, we begin to see it less as a character flaw and more as a habit we can change. Recognizing that procrastination is rooted in avoidance and discomfort allows us to be more compassionate with ourselves. Once you learn to face discomfort head-on, you'll start noticing the reduction in procrastination. Procrastination is no longer a wall to climb, it's just a hurdle we can overcome with awareness and strategy. The idea of tackling large projects can feel like an insurmountable mountain. The bigger the goal, the more likely we are to procrastinate. But what if I told you that the key to breaking this cycle lies in the small wins you can achieve along the way? Small wins are crucial in building momentum. When you break a big task into smaller, more achievable steps, it becomes less intimidating. You're more likely to start because each step feels doable and gives you a sense of accomplishment. For example, if you want to write a book, instead of focusing on the entire book, focus on writing a paragraph, then a page. The small wins not only motivate you to keep going, but they also create a feeling of progress that builds your confidence. Celebrate every small step, no matter how insignificant it may seem. These small victories accumulate, helping you stay on track toward your bigger goal. When you focus on these mini goals, they act like milestones, and each one propels you forward. This is where the idea of chunking tasks comes into play. If you think of a big task as a series of smaller, manageable tasks, you'll find yourself tackling each piece with less hesitation and more enthusiasm. Your brain loves this sense of progress, it's a powerful motivator that keeps you engaged. Ultimately, small wins help build positive reinforcement, encouraging a cycle of productivity. The more you accomplish, the more you feel capable of tackling larger tasks. The key is to stay focused on what you can do today, rather than worrying about the entirety of the project. You'll be surprised at how far you can get by simply focusing on today's small win. Your mindset plays a huge role in whether or not you procrastinate. If you see yourself as someone who is perpetually behind or unable to get things done, you are likely reinforcing a self-fulfilling prophecy. The first step in overcoming procrastination is to change your mindset. Instead of thinking "I can't," try thinking "I'm working on it." When you switch from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, you begin to see challenges as opportunities to learn, rather than as roadblocks. This shift in perspective is vital in the battle against procrastination. It turns every obstacle into a stepping stone, not a reason to put things off. The growth mindset focuses on effort, improvement, and progress. It doesn't matter if you fail at first, it's about learning and continuing to move forward. A person with a fixed mindset, on the other hand, may avoid tasks for fear of failure. The belief that mistakes are fatal leads to procrastination. But when you embrace mistakes as part of the process, procrastination loses its power over you. The growth mindset empowers you to keep going, regardless of setbacks. So, the next time you face a difficult task, ask yourself, how can I grow through this? What can I learn from it? This simple shift in thinking can propel you into action, transforming procrastination into motivation. A powerful way to cultivate a growth mindset is through positive self-talk. When you find yourself thinking, "This is too hard," counteract that thought with, "I may not know how to do this yet, but I can learn." Positive self-talk rewires your brain, making you more resilient and proactive in the face of challenges. When you start to believe in your ability to grow and improve, procrastination becomes less of an option and more of an outdated habit. Fear of failure is one of the core reasons we procrastinate. The thought of not succeeding can freeze us in place, causing us to delay tasks indefinitely. This fear is not always about the task itself, it's often about the perceived judgment we'll face if we don't succeed. The reality is, failure is part of the journey, and no one succeeds without facing it along the way. The trick is to stop viewing failure as the end of the road and start seeing it as an essential part of the learning process. Failure teaches us what doesn't work, so we can pivot and try a different approach. To break the cycle of procrastination caused by the fear of failure, you need to reframe how you perceive mistakes. Instead of seeing failure as something to be avoided at all costs, view it as an opportunity to grow. The most successful people in the world have all failed at some point, they just didn't let it stop them. They kept going, learning from each mistake, and adjusting their approach. When you shift your mindset about failure, it becomes less scary and more like a stepping stone to success. A simple strategy to help with this fear is to take small, manageable risks. If you're afraid of failing at a big task, break it into smaller steps and take tiny risks. As you gradually face your fears and see that failure doesn't define you, it will become easier to act, and procrastination will have less control over you. Time management is often misunderstood. It's not just about scheduling every minute of your day or forcing yourself to work longer hours. The real key to effective time management is learning how to prioritize and allocate your time to tasks that matter most. Most of us procrastinate because we don't have a clear understanding of what is most important, which leads us to waste time on less important activities. The solution isn't to work harder, but to work smarter. Start by identifying your most important tasks for the day. When you know what needs to be done, it becomes easier to commit to it. Prioritizing tasks helps you focus on what truly moves you toward your goals, while cutting out distractions. One helpful technique is the Eisenhower matrix, which divides tasks into 4 categories: urgent and important, important but not urgent, urgent but not important, and neither urgent nor important. This simple exercise will help you stay focused on what matters and eliminate procrastination triggered by unnecessary tasks. Effective time management also involves setting clear boundaries and sticking to them. When you allocate time for work and time for rest, you avoid the burnout that comes from overworking or the distractions of underworking. The more you practice managing your time effectively, the more you'll realize that procrastination is often a result of misallocated time. When you control your time, procrastination loses its power. Accountability can be one of the most powerful tools to fight procrastination. When you have someone to answer to, you're much more likely to stay on track. This doesn't mean you need to share every detail of your life with someone, but creating a system of accountability can push you to take action when you'd rather put things off. Having someone to check in with creates a sense of responsibility, which adds an extra layer of motivation. A great way to implement accountability is by sharing your goals with someone you trust, whether it's a friend, family member, or colleague. Set regular check-ins to discuss your progress. If you don't have someone you can rely on for accountability, consider joining an accountability group or finding an online community with similar goals. The act of reporting your progress keeps you focused and committed to following through. Another effective method is to use self-accountability. Set personal deadlines and hold yourself to them. If you know you're the only person responsible for getting something done, the pressure to succeed can be motivating. If that's not enough, make it fun. Turn your goals into challenges and reward yourself once you achieve them. The more you associate your goals with positive outcomes, the less likely procrastination will stand in your way. Self-criticism is one of procrastination's greatest allies. When we don't do something perfectly or fast enough, we beat ourselves up, making the task seem even more difficult. This often leads to avoidance and, ultimately, procrastination. The key to breaking this cycle is self-compassion. Instead of criticizing yourself for procrastinating, try treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you'd offer to a friend. One effective way to combat self-criticism is to practice mindfulness. Recognize when negative self-talk arises, and gently redirect your thoughts. Understand that everyone experiences procrastination, and it doesn't make you any less capable. Failure, mistakes, and delays don't define you. The moment you learn to accept yourself without judgment, you'll find it much easier to take action, and procrastination will lose its grip. Lastly, remember that self-compassion isn't about letting yourself off the hook. It's about recognizing your humanity, giving yourself the grace to fail, and then getting back up. Once you stop letting self-criticism keep you stuck, you'll notice how much more productive and motivated you become. Building habits is one of the most effective ways to beat procrastination. Habits are like the autopilot of your brain. Once a task becomes a habit, it requires less mental energy to accomplish it. This is why it's crucial to create habits that serve your long-term goals. For example, if you want to become more productive, you can start by developing a morning routine. This might include planning your day, exercising, or setting specific work goals. By consistently following through with this routine, it becomes second nature, and your chances of procrastination dramatically decrease. When forming a new habit, it's important to keep things simple and manageable. Start small. Instead of setting a goal like, I'm going to work for 8 hours a day, try something more achievable like, I'll spend 30 minutes working on my most important task. Once that becomes a habit, you can increase the time or complexity gradually. The secret to long-term success lies in starting small and building consistency over time. Remember, it's not about making one big change overnight, it's about continuously practicing and reinforcing the behavior until it becomes second nature. So, identify the habits that will move you closer to your goals, and begin incorporating them into your daily life. As your new habits grow stronger, procrastination will start to feel less like an option and more like a thing of the past. Your environment plays a massive role in your ability to fight procrastination. A cluttered, distracting environment can be a huge deterrent to productivity, while a well-organized, focused space can help you stay on task. Have you ever noticed that when you're in a messy room, it's harder to concentrate? Your environment sends cues to your brain, and if your space is disorganized, your mind feels chaotic. This creates mental barriers that make it easy to put off important tasks. To combat procrastination, start by optimizing your workspace. Remove distractions, organize your materials, and create an environment that promotes focus. This can be as simple as clearing your desk, putting your phone on silent, or using noise-canceling headphones if you're in a noisy area. A focused, minimalist workspace helps prime your brain for productivity, making it easier to start working and harder to procrastinate. Additionally, the people you surround yourself with can impact your procrastination habits. If you're constantly around people who delay tasks or distract you, it's harder to stay productive. On the flip side, being around driven, focused individuals can elevate your own work ethic. So, create an environment, both physically and socially, that supports your goals and discourages procrastination. One of the most powerful ways to beat procrastination is by reconnecting with your deeper motivations, the why behind what you're doing. When you understand why a task matters, it's easier to prioritize and act on it. Think about the times you've worked hard without hesitation because the task was tied to something deeply meaningful to you. This is the power of understanding your why. It gives you a sense of purpose that makes every task feel less like a chore and more like an opportunity to move closer to your goals. To tap into your why, start by asking yourself questions like, why is this task important? How will it help me achieve my goals? Dig deep into the emotional reasons that drive you. For example, if you're working on a project, your why might be to create something that will help others or to move forward in your career. When you have a clear vision of why you're doing something, the task becomes more motivating and procrastination loses its grip. Revisit your why regularly to keep yourself aligned with your goals. Write it down, keep it visible, and refer to it when you feel resistance. When you connect your actions to something that truly matters to you, procrastination no longer becomes an obstacle, it becomes part of your journey to achieving something significant. Now that you've got all the tools and insights to beat procrastination, it's time to put them into practice. But before you take that next step, I want you to ask yourself, what's stopping you from starting now? Is procrastination still speaking louder, or are you ready to act? Remember, it's not perfection that matters, it's the daily commitment to taking small steps forward. Don't blame yourself for procrastinating up until now, instead, make this reflection your turning point. Start today, no matter how small the first step is, and keep moving forward. I know it can be tough, it can be challenging, but transformation lies in persistence. Start with something simple, like a 10-minute task, and build your confidence from there. If you're feeling overwhelmed, remember you can take a breath and reorganize your journey. You are in control. The secret is never stopping, even when things don't go as expected. Life will adjust to your actions, not the other way around. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for more powerful tips like this. And let me know in the comments, what task will you tackle today and take that first step on? Let's chat, because transforming how you act might be the start of a revolution in your life.